So welcome back. When we left off, we were discussing the idea of a wall across the northern border, which was kind of endorsed, if you will, by Scott Walker last week on Meet the Press. Let's see what you guys have to say about that. Let's start with you, Noah, because you're shocking me on this.
Well, he's kind of backtracked a little bit. He didn't really endorse it. He seemed to kind of say, yeah, that's a good thing that we can look at. And then when they said, do you support it? He said, no, because that's ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. We're talking about a 5,200-mile border.
Oh, I thought you were going the other way. You do agree it's ridiculous.
Well, it's ridiculous to put a border up, or a wall up, because that's the biggest tax project you can imagine. I mean, the moon landings probably cost less than what that project was. With inflation.
I don't think. I think that's a pretty big exaggeration.
But I don't know. That's a pretty substantial
the
border.
moon project. Come on.
But that's not to say that this is not an issue that needs to be looked at. We're talking about a very large border. Last year, according to border officials, about 3,300 people were apprehended coming over that border. We don't know who's not being apprehended because it's far too large to police, and most people are coming through over the waterways, through very poorly policed waterways leading into Michigan. So to say that this isn't an issue, and it's a substantial terrorism issue as well. Obama's last border customs chief said that there's a much bigger threat from terrorism than that border than at the Mexican border.
Well, look, you know, everything you just said is accurate. We know that most of this happens through the waterway. It is a bigger problem than we think about very often. At the same time, to try and wall this off, you would literally have to build a wall on the beaches along the Great Lakes. Now, how do you think states like Ohio, states like Michigan, states like Illinois are going to feel about seeing their tourism industry wrecked when their beaches are wrecked?
We were laughing on camera that it would start to look like Normandy, you know, the beaches of Normandy. You're not going to do that. We're not going to put a bubble around the United States. You hit on the bigger issue. The bigger issue is overstaying your visa, and nobody has a solution for that. We're not going to tattoo barcodes on their.
Well, Chris Christie has one. He wants to do it like FedEx. He wants to tattoo barcodes on them.
Well, yeah, and, you know, like even me will say that's a little bit too far, but I've been a firm proponent of arming the border. Look, put a fence up, a chicken wire fence.
Arming it with who?
With military.
Except that's against posse comitatus.
So
it's
that's
illegal.
why we take it to
we
Congress.
We have a border patrol.
Yeah, we have a border patrol or militia groups. I'd volunteer to do it for 2 weeks.
That's what we're afraid of.
Yeah, Second Amendment. It is for the right for a well-regulated militia. But I mean, if you put a fence 200 yards into the American side and said signs in English, Spanish, whatever language we want to put it in, and say if you cross this border, you will be shot. One person will cross, and then we won't have a problem anymore.
Is that the answer, Noah?
The people who fear being shot on the other side of the border are still going to take that risk.
Oh, you mean in Chicago?
I mean in Mexico.
You know what, guys? Go ahead, quickly.
Chris Christie has said specifically he is not for putting barcodes on people's foreheads. If we're going to talk about his proposal with any accuracy, we can't be putting words into his mouth. And all the people I've seen who've come out against his proposal have put a lot of words into his mouth. He hasn't said.
Right,
he hasn't said he stole it from
So he just basically left it hanging out there.
Yes.
Let's do it like FedEx. All right, let's go to your viewer comments, because I didn't think that comment was particularly worthwhile. Let's start with a comment about the Kentucky clerk who's refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Gene tells us, look at the outcry. Eric Holder, as Attorney General, refused to enforce DOMA, which President Clinton signed into law. Not a word about him refusing to follow the law. What a double standard. Don says the clerk in Moorhead, Kentucky, should have the right to refuse marriage licenses to gay couples. Absolutely. Sheila says this law by the Supreme Court was not made when Kim Davis was sworn into office. Kentucky voted against this. Is that not true? I think it isn't true, and it doesn't really matter if it wasn't the law when she was sworn into office. And then JRM says, using his head, I might add, Kim Davis has a right to do or not do what she wants. What she does not have the right to do is keep cashing her paychecks for an incomplete job performance. Nor does she have the right to impose her beliefs on any other taxpayers. Guys, isn't that last commenter right? Isn't that it?
I believe so. And I'm not a proponent of gay marriage. But you know what? At this issue, gay marriage is not going to destroy the country. It pisses people off, but it's not going to destroy the country. So that last comment is
David, you with that?
I am with that, and this is going to be a judicial issue, nothing more. A judge is going to rule on this, and we'll be beyond it.
Noah?
She got a good dressing down from Antonin Scalia the other day, and I believed it was deserved.
I couldn't agree more. I respect her religion. I respect her beliefs. If you can't do the job you were elected to do, resign it and do what you do. Now, last night we told you about the Pope allowing all priests to forgive abortions. Snake says the Pope can forgive sins. Give me a break. Cynthia says Priests can't forgive anyone for anything. That's God's job. Catholics are wrong about this. I am so not touching that with a 10-foot pole. And of course, quickly, we have a comment about Donald Trump. Marie says, I think the Republican Party is going to damage themselves if they do not accept Donald Trump. He is truthful and speaks from the heart. All right, let's move on from this one. Remember, if you want to weigh in on any of the issues we talk about here, be sure to go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Let us know what you think. And be sure to get your copy of Ben Carson's book, One Nation, absolutely free. All you have to do is pay $4.95 to cover the cost of shipping. Call 1-800-485-4350 or go to newsmax.com/Ben and you can order your book. Now, coming up next, you know what time it is, guys. Anybody want to tell me quickly? It's yay or nay. Stay with us on the Daily Wrap.